All right, so you want to dive into this whole technical sales representative and chemical products thing.
Sounds good to me.
You sent over some interesting stuff from RoleCatcher, like their career guide and some info about their AI platform.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe you're intrigued by this career path, but wondering if it's really the right fit.
Yeah. Could be a good one to unpack.
Well, you came to the right place. Let's break it down. This one's for all you science lovers out there who also kind of have a knack for, sales.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating field, especially if you have that passion for science and, let's just say, the art of persuasion.
So it's not just about, hawking chemicals. This is high-level problem solving. RoleCatcher's guide really emphasizes this consultative approach.
Exactly. It's about understanding a client's needs.
Yeah.
And they can be incredibly complex in the chemical industry.
Yeah.
Recommending the perfect solution, but from like a technical standpoint.
Right. So you need that deep technical knowledge, but then you got to be able to communicate it clearly and build relationships. It's not enough to just know the periodic table. You got to know how to connect with people.
Yeah. And that's where those soft skills come in. The guide actually highlights active listening as the most crucial skill for this role, even more important than negotiation, which I found pretty surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
59% importance for active listening. Wow. Okay, I'm starting to see why this role isn't for everyone. You need to be a bit of a chameleon, fluent in both the language of science and the language of sales.
Absolutely. So if you're somebody listening who loves to dive into technical details, but also kind of gets a thrill out of closing a deal and building those lasting relationships, this might just be your dream career path.
Or at least a step closer to figuring that out.
There you go.
Okay, but let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the beaker in the lab.
Okay.
What are the actual perks and drawbacks of this job? Because RoleCatcher's guide mentions some pretty tempting pros.
Oh, yeah. The guide definitely doesn't shy away from mentioning the high earning potential in this field. But it's not just about luck or a strong sales pitch. This sector is booming. And with the right experience and expertise, those high salaries really reflect the value that these professionals bring to the table.
Okay, that makes sense. High demand specialized knowledge equals big earning potential. And they also mention the opportunity to work with some seriously cutting edge tech.
Exciting.
Not bad for a job that might involve beakers.
Not bad at all.
Oh.
But of course, you know how it is. Every coin has two sides. The guy doesn't sugarcoat the fact that this is a high pressure environment. We're talking long hours, constantly having to learn and stay ahead of the curve, and potentially dealing with some demanding clients. It's not for the faint of heart.
No kidding. I'm picturing those late night calls when a client's big experiment hinges on getting the right chemical delivered ASAP.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about pressure.
Exactly. And we haven't even touched upon the travel aspect, which can be both good or bad, depending on, your personality. The guide mentions that it varies based on territory, but it's definitely something to consider if you really value a predictable routine.
That's a great point. Some people thrive on that jet-setting lifestyle, while others would rather be homebodies. It's all about finding the right fit, which, conveniently, is what this deep dive is all about. Let's move on and break down what career progression typically looks like in this field, because it's not just about landing that first job, right?
Right. RoleCatcher's guide actually lays out a very clear path, starting with those entry-level roles where you're often assisting more senior reps. Think of it as an apprenticeship. You're learning the ropes, shadowing those experienced professionals, building your network.
So you're not expected to be a sales superstar right out of the gate. Okay, that's actually quite reassuring. But I'm guessing those early years are really crucial for soaking up as much knowledge as possible.
Absolutely. And this is something that's emphasized throughout the guide, the importance of continuous learning. Whether it's staying updated on the latest trends, mastering new sales techniques, or even just deepening your technical expertise, this is a field that really demands constant evolution.
Makes sense, especially in the world of chemical products. New innovations and breakthroughs are happening all the time. You don't want to be caught off guard when a client asks about the latest and greatest, right?
Exactly. That's where those who are truly passionate about this field will really thrive, because that constant learning, that pursuit of knowledge, becomes less of a chore and more of a driver.
I'm seeing here that RoleCatcher actually profiles what a senior technical sales representative looks like, and it sounds like the dream scenario. You've mastered the technical side, you're a sales ninja, you're basically an industry guru.
Yeah, and you might even be leading a team at that point, mentoring that next generation of technical sales reps. Really a testament to that growth potential within this career path.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But, let's be real. Getting from point A to point Z in any career requires
more than just enthusiasm, right?
Right.
You need the right tools and resources, and that's where I'm curious about RoleCatcher itself. They talk a big game about their AI-powered platform.
Yes, their AI features are all over these materials you shared. It seems like they offer everything like CV analysis and optimization to interview practice tools, even connecting with potential employers. It's a lot.
It does sound pretty impressive, but part of me wonders, is this just another case of like AI is the magic solution hype, or is there really some substance to what they're offering?
Yeah, that's a valid question. I think it's easy to be skeptical, especially when it seems like every platform out there is claiming to be powered by some, super intelligent algorithm these days.
Right. So let's break down RoleCatcher's potential role in actually landing a job in this field. Do they just like analyze your resume, or do they actually help you address those gaps and make you a more competitive candidate? Well, based on the info you gave me, RoleCatcher seems to go beyond just like pointing out flaws in your CV. They highlight this aspect of tailoring your application to each specific job, which is really key in a competitive field like this. It's about highlighting the skills and experiences that are really going to resonate with that particular role rather than using a generic one-size-fits-all approach.
That's interesting. It's kind of like how a good salesperson wouldn't just use the same pitch for every single client, right?
Right.
You adapt, you tailor your message to resonate with their needs and what they're going through.
Exactly. And it seems like RoleCatcher's AI is designed to help you do just that, but with your job applications. They even talk about identifying those hidden skill gaps, the things that you might not even realize could be holding you back.
Oh, wow, that's huge. It's so easy to underestimate all of the skills you've picked up through all kinds of different experiences or even how to say them, effectively when you're writing. I can see how having some kind of AI tool to help you through that could be a game changer.
Yeah, and it's not just about the application itself. RoleCatcher talks a lot about interview practice, offering tools to help folks prepare for those tough questions and refine your answers. They seem to get that landing the job is often about more than just having the right qualifications. It's about really nailing that interview and making a good impression.
Right, because even with a stellar resume, if you walk into an interview unprepared and fumble through your answers, it's game over.
Exactly. It seems like RoleCatcher wants to give you the tools and the confidence to walk into that interview feeling prepared and ready to really showcase your best self. They even have this whole thing about getting discovered by employers directly through the platform. Sounds like they're really trying to create a more proactive and efficient job search experience.
An all-encompassing, centralized toolkit. That's how they describe it, right? I have to admit, the idea of having everything in one place, like all my research, my applications, my interview prep, very appealing. No more juggling a million different tabs and spreadsheets.
Yeah, it's about streamlining the process and getting rid of all that unnecessary friction, which honestly can be really valuable in something as complex and often as stressful as job hunting.
For sure. But I think the big question is, does any of it actually work? Does using a platform like RoleCatcher actually increase your chances of landing a job in this field?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And while no tool can guarantee a job offer, it seems like RoleCatcher is designed to really increase your chances. It's about using technology to give you an edge, to make you more informed, more prepared, and ultimately a more competitive candidate.
And hey, even if it just helps you feel more organized and more confident throughout the job search, that's a win in itself. It can be such a daunting and emotionally draining experience. We've explored the demands, the rewards, the career paths, but this deep dive wouldn't be complete without talking about like the human element of it all.
Exactly, because a career is more than just a job title or a paycheck, right? It's about aligning your skills and your passions with a path that really brings you fulfillment and allows you to make a difference.
So true. So as you're considering this career path, or really any career path, think beyond just whether or not you think you could do the job. Ask yourself, does this align with like my values? Does it excite me? Does it tap into my strengths and my interests?
And ultimately, does it move you closer to your own definition of success? Because that's what matters.
Maybe this deep dive has sparked something in you, pointed you towards your dream job, or maybe it's inspired you to keep exploring other options. Either way, we're so glad you joined us on this journey.
It's been fun.
And speaking of those hidden skills, it makes me think about the actual day-to-day of this job. The guide touched on this, but what does it really look like to be a technical sales rep in the chemical world? Are we talking labs and hard hats, or more like presentations and spreadsheets?
Probably a really dynamic mix, to be honest. You might be in a lab one day consulting with scientists about a specific formulation, and then the next you're in a boardroom pitching a new product line to executives. It's about bridging that gap between the technical and the commercial side.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like you need to be comfortable in both worlds. But I'm picturing a lot of time spent building those relationships with clients. Because in a field as specialized as this, one, trust must be huge, right?
For sure, it's not just about having that right product. It's about having the right relationship with the people who are making those purchasing decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes time. It
Yeah.
takes genuine connection. And yeah, probably involves a lot of those active listening skills we talked about.
So it's not just selling a product, you're selling your expertise, your understanding of their unique challenges, almost like becoming a trusted advisor, like a partner in their success.
Yeah, exactly. That level of trust can make all the difference, especially in a competitive market where you might have several companies offering similar products.
Right, because if two companies are like neck and neck on the technical stuff and the pricing, that personal relationship you've made could be what makes the sale. It's that human element that can really tip the scales.
For sure. And that brings us back to those soft skills, something RoleCatcher seems to emphasize in everything they do.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you know, it's about how you communicate, how you connect with people, and how you build those relationships.
And that's something that's valuable in any job, but especially in a field like technical sales, where you're the bridge between these complex technical solutions and the people who need them. But I'm curious about the challenges that are specific to the chemical industry, because I imagine there are some unique hurdles you don't find in other sales jobs.
Oh, for sure. One of the biggest, based on my research and the stuff you sent, is staying ahead of all the regulations. The chemical industry is seriously regulated, constantly evolving safety standards and all those environmental regulations. So a technical sales rep needs to be on top of those changes, constantly educating themselves and making sure their clients are compliant as well.
That's a great point. You can't just be good at sales. You got to be a master of the ever-changing rule book, too. Talk about a steep learning curve.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to that continuous learning thing we talked about. But it's not just the regulations. The chemical industry is also incredibly innovative.
Hmm.
There's always new technologies and products coming out all the time. So a really successful technical sales rep needs to kind of have their finger on the pulse of those advancements, always learning and adapting.
It really sounds like you got to be okay with a certain level of, ambiguity and constant change, not a job for someone who wants a routine.
True, but for those who thrive in that type of setting, who are energized by the challenge of staying ahead of the curve and being at the forefront of innovation,
Hmm.
it can be such a stimulating and rewarding career path.
I'm starting to see the appeal, but let's talk about that rewarding part a little more. Rollcatcher's Guide talked about that high earning potential, but are there other things about this job that are fulfilling besides a good salary?
Absolutely. One of the most significant rewards, I think, is the chance to have an impact on the real world. The chemical industry is a huge part of so many things in our lives, from creating new medicines and sustainable materials to advancements in things like agriculture and energy.
That's a great point. I hadn't really thought about it that way. But you're right, the work of a technical sales rep in chemicals can have such a big impact.
Right. And knowing that you're playing a part in those advancements, that you're helping to connect those innovative solutions with the people who need them can be so motivating and rewarding on its own.
So it's more than just making sales, it's about contributing to something bigger. And I imagine there's a lot of satisfaction that comes with like mastering all the technical parts of this field.
Absolutely. It's a
Mm.
challenging field for sure. But that challenge can be so satisfying for people who have a curious mind and a real passion for science.
It's like you're constantly solving these puzzles, finding the best solutions to really complicated problems, and then you actually see your efforts pay off.
Yeah, exactly. And in a world that feels more and more automated and impersonal, there's just something really fulfilling about a job that needs both deep technical knowledge and genuine human connection.
You've got a point. It's like the best of both worlds, the intellectual stuff of science and the people skills of sales all in one.
Exactly. And speaking of career paths, let's go back to that idea of progression within this field.
Yeah.
We talked about the entry-level stuff and maybe leading a team, but what about everything in between?
Right, because becoming a senior technical sales representative doesn't just happen overnight. There have to be certain steps along the way, different levels of expertise and responsibility. And I'm wondering, does RoleCatcher give you any tips on how to handle those different stages? Because it's one thing to know where you want to end up, but it's another to actually figure out how to get there.
That's a great question. And it looks like RoleCatcher does give you some advice on those in-between stages. Like they really emphasize how important it is to build a good track record of success in those early roles, showing that you're good at the technical stuff and that you can build relationships and make sales.
So it's not enough to just put in your time. You
Yeah.
have to constantly go above and beyond and prove that you're valuable to the company.
Right. And as you get more experience and build that reputation, you might get more responsibility, maybe managing a larger territory, mentoring new reps, or even focusing on a specific product or industry.
So there's a lot of room to grow and find your niche within this field that's really cool. But what about the actual skills you need as you move up? What becomes more important? Because being a great individual worker is different than leading a team and dealing with bigger clients.
Absolutely. And based on what I've seen from RoleCatcher's Guide and their AI platform they get, that your skills need to change as your career grows.
So it's not enough to just be amazing at sales and know everything about the newest chemicals.
Right. When you move into those more senior roles, being a good leader becomes really important. We're talking strategy coaching and mentoring, building strong teams, and handling big negotiations.
So not only do you need to be able to close the deal yourself, you need to teach other people to do it too. And I'm sure there's some office politics in there somewhere too.
Of course. It's a whole new set of skills, and it's something RoleCatcher seems to get. Their platform really focuses on personal development and career coaching. They seem to understand that being successful in the long term in this kind of job takes more than just knowing the technical stuff and being good at sales. It takes a real commitment to always learning and growing in all areas.
So it's about becoming well-rounded, someone who can not only talk the talk, but also walk the walk when it comes to leadership strategy and dealing with the ups and downs of the business world.
Exactly. It's about evolving from just being good at your job to being a leader who can help the company grow, inspire other people, and make a real difference.
And that's where that senior technical sales representative profile we talked about comes in, right? Someone who's not only a pro at the technical and sales side, but also has those leadership skills down pat.
Yeah, exactly. They've worked their way up, they've proven themselves, and they've earned the respect of everyone around them.
Sounds like a tough but rewarding journey. And I can see how a platform like RoleCatcher, with its focus on personalized help and career development tools, could be so valuable for anyone who wants to make it in this field.
Definitely. And it's good to remember that career paths are rarely straightforward.
Yeah.
There might be bumps in the road, unexpected opportunities, or even setbacks. But knowing what your goals are, what you're good at, and the resources you have available can make all the difference in navigating those twists and turns and becoming successful.
Very true. It's all about being able to, in fact, being resilient and always being open to learning and growing. Speaking of resources and tools, let's talk more about RoleCatcher's AI platform. We talked about some of its features, but I want to understand how those features actually help people looking for jobs in this industry.
Yeah, one of the things RoleCatcher really pushes is its AI-powered resume thing, the analysis and optimization tool.
Right.
And this is especially important for these technical sales roles, where your resume needs to show both your technical skills and your sales skills.
Right, because it's tricky. You don't want to bore potential employers with too much technical stuff,
Right.
but you also don't want to downplay all that scientific knowledge you have.
Exactly, and that's where this AI comes in.
Yeah.
So like their algorithm analyzes your resume, not just for like keywords, but for clarity and how concise it is and the overall impact. It wants to help you present your skills and experience in a way that makes sense to both technical and non-technical people.
So it's like having a resume expert and a career coach all in one,
Yeah.
helping you create a resume that stands out and shows off the best parts for the specific jobs you want.
Right, and it's not just about making your resume look good.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher also focuses on tailoring your application to each job, which is so important.
Yeah.
It's about finding those skills and experiences that really matter to that employer and making them shine in a way that fits with the job description and what the company's all about.
That makes a lot of sense because I bet a generic resume is way more likely to get lost in the pile, especially for a job that needs such specific skills.
Totally. And it's not just about getting past those first screening things.
Right.
RoleCatcher also talks a lot about practicing for interviews and offers tools to help you get ready for those conversations.
Which is so important because even with an amazing resume, if you mess up the interview, it's over.
Exactly.
And I bet interviewing for a technical sales role in chemicals can be really nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah. You have to be ready to talk about complicated technical stuff, explain your sales strategy, and show that you understand the whole industry, and you got to do it all confidently and clearly.
You have pressure, right.
Right.
So how does their AI help with interview prep? Is it like mock interviews with a robot?
Not exactly, although that does sound kind of cool.
I know, right?
It seems like RoleCatcher has a bunch of different things to help you, like sample interview questions specifically for technical sales positions and tips on how to answer them well. They even let you record yourself and listen back.
Oh, that's cool, because sometimes just hearing yourself talk can really help you get better.
For sure. And it's not just about practicing your answers. RoleCatcher also talks about how important it is to research the company and the people interviewing you so you get what they're looking for and can kind of predict their questions. It's about being completely prepared, confident, and ready to have a real conversation.
It's like the difference between showing up for a test, having skimmed the material, versus actually studying and doing practice problems.
Yeah,
That preparation can make all the difference in how you do and how confident you feel.
exactly. And in a situation like a job interview, that confidence can make or break you.
Absolutely. So we've talked about improving your resume and practicing for interviews, but there was one more thing I want to ask about. What about that whole idea of employers finding you directly through the platform? Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so it seems like RoleCatcher lets you make a really detailed profile that highlights your skills, your experience, and what you want to do in your career. And they have this system that connects your profile with employers who are actually looking for people with your exact qualifications.
So it's like a matchmaking site, but for jobs.
Pretty much. It
Yeah.
takes out the guesswork of looking for a job. You don't have to spend hours scrolling through job boards and sending out random applications. Instead, you show them your best and let your qualifications speak for themselves.
That's awesome. And it shows how important it is to be proactive and strategic when you're looking for a job. Don't just wait for opportunities to come to you, you go find them.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most important things we've learned today about RoleCatcher and technical sales overall. It's a tough field, but if you have the right tools, the right mindset, and you're willing to keep learning and growing, it can be a really rewarding and fulfilling career.
I totally agree. We've talked about a lot today, from the skills you need and how important relationships are to career paths and the tools that can help you succeed. But ultimately, whether this is the right job for you comes down to a few key questions.
Exactly. Does this sound like something you'd be passionate about? Does it fit your skills and your long-term goals? Does working in such a fast-paced and challenging industry where you constantly have to learn and adapt sound exciting? And most importantly, can you see yourself really thriving in this role, using your unique skills and making a real difference?
Those are the million-dollar questions, and while we can't answer them for you, we hope we've given you the info you need to figure it out for yourself. Just remember, you get to decide what your career path looks like.
So trust your gut, follow what you're curious about, and never stop exploring what's out there.
I love that. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration. We'll see you next time.